This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Jesus gave it to me. Jesus gave it to me. I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, Jesus gave it to me, and I'm gonna let it shine. Jesus gave it to me, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Little light of mine, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Our scripture just reading this morning is going to be coming from the book of Luke. Luke chapter 5. And we'll be starting at verse number 8. Luke 5, verse number 8. I ask that when you find it, you say amen.
Amen.
If you need a minute, say wait a minute. God's word is for God's people. When Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, "Depart from me, for I am sinful man, O Lord." For he was astonished, and all that were with him, at the draught of the fishes which they had taken. And so was also James and John, the sons of Zebedee, which were partners with Simon. And Jesus said unto Simon, "Fear not, from henceforth thou shalt catch men." I have read God's word. He has already blessed the hearing and the reading thereof.
Amen, amen, amen. Morning, God people.
Good morning.
This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Let us bow our heads and pray. Father God, humbly, boldly, we come before the throne of grace and mercy to say thank you once again. Thank you, Father God, for this another day. For this is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Father God, we thank you for the privilege and the honor of being chosen. We thank you for love's anointing, yoke-destroying, burden-removing anointing of love given to this family, this part of the body of Christ Jesus. We thank you for the church family universal, Father God. And we thank you for righteousness. We thank you, Father God, that through Christ Jesus, We are the righteousness of God. We thank you that we are loved, redeemed through Christ Jesus. We blessed, and we bless those who are of you. Father, because of you, we know we can do. We do all things through Christ Jesus who strengthens us. Greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. We call things that are not as though they were, and they shall be, because God's word we believe. This day, Father, hallelujah. Father, help us to realize the importance of being. Help us to understand the importance of being ordained, called, the privilege and the honor of being covenant children of God. Father, help us to realize that today is the day for salvation. Right now is the time for revelation. Play day is over, payday is now. But Jesus said, I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go to prepare a place for you, I will return again and receive you unto myself. And where I am, there you may be also. Jesus also said, no man knows the day nor the hour when the Son of Man comes. Watch therefore ye. Pray that ye be ready. Seek first the kingdom of God, his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. While we come humbly, casting all of our cares upon you, because you care for us. We come to love's throne of grace and mercy. For we are saved by grace, not by works, lest any man should boast. Washed in the blood of Jesus. We bind up the spirit of fear. Spirit of fear, false evidence appearing real. You have no place here in the body of Christ Jesus. You have no place here in the tabernacle of God the Father Almighty. You have no place here in the children of God. We take authority. We believe and receive all power and authority has been given to us to call things that are not as though they were, to tell the enemy, get thee underneath our feet. For we are the children of God. And we take this authority, we take hold of everything given to us, and we let go, Father God, eating and everything that's not holy. Anything that's not holy. We let go of it now, and we let you be God all by yourself. But there's none like you. Lord, have your way in your children this day. Each and every one of us individually, and us as a body. Help us to see as you see. Remove the blinders from our eyes so love we see. Unstop our ears so you we hear. Help us to be not only hearers, but now faith doers of the word. This day and forevermore. Not our will, but thy will be done. In Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Hallelujah. Amen. Man, I feel like dancing today. You that pastor? Feel like dancing. Good. Woo, my God. You ready to say, I don't know what you come to do.
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 I come to clap my hands. 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 I come to stomp my feet. 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 I don't know what you come to do.
know if you've ever felt that, but family, human friends, just don't feel. You feel empty. You feel like there's something. And I really believe that that's God, that He puts in us that void that we feel occasionally. It's just Him calling unto Him. Because He's the only one that can actually feel it, believe it or not. When you have that peace that we've always talked about. Jesus
Amen.
is always available to talk to. He's never been, I ain't got time. He ain't never got, when you call on him, he ain't looking at his phone like, I don't want to talk to him. When you text him, he was going to answer. And he's a friend that you will never find anywhere else. And what a friend that we have in Jesus. I'm going to ask you, rest on your feet. You don't know the word? All right. We're going to get good.
Handshake on.
I think I do this for a living.
How about that?
You'll be all right. It'll be all right.
That's so beautiful.
You ain't got here yet. Well, guess what? We're gonna feel a song. Brother Tommy got a song for us this morning? I know. Come on up, bro. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
Give God the glory this morning.
Amen.
Praise
And we can never thank God and praise Him enough for what He's done for us.
Amen.
He says if we don't praise Him, He can cause the rocks to cry out. And you know, we need to be thankful every day. Thankful that God is who He is and He's on our side. We understand that God is on our side, you know. If who be against us, you know, God's going to be for us, who can be against us? Anybody comes against you, God's going to be there to get you back.
Amen.
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 Let's do this old song that we're doing when the saints go marching in. I love that old song. You know, if you're a child of God, you're called a saint. One day we're going to march in and we're going to be in heaven. We're going to be running around heaven, marching around and praising God and singing. We're not going to be in this old fleshly body anymore. We're going to have a brand new body. Brother John said this morning, we're going to be a new heaven and a new earth. Just think about having a body that doesn't hurt. Well, I'm just a weary pilgrim, plodding through this world of sin. I'm getting ready for that city when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Lord, I want to be in that number when the saints go marching in. And my Father, may God bless him, what a soldier he has been, but his steps will be more steady when the saints go marching in. Now when the saints go marching in, oh, when the saints go marching in, oh Lord, I want to be in that number when the saints go marching in. And my mother, may God bless her, I can see her now as in, with the robe of pride around her, when the saints go marching in. Now when the saints go marching in, oh, when the saints go marching in, oh Lord, I want to be in that number when the saints go marching in. Out there I'll meet the Savior who redeemed me from my sin, with his name that on till reach me when the saints go marching in. Now when the saints go marching in, oh, when the saints go marching in, oh Lord, I want to be in that number when the saints go marching in. One more time. Oh, when the saints go marching in, oh, when the saints go marching in, Lord, I want to be in that number when the saints go marching in. Amen.
Who wants to be in that number?
Amen. Amen.
Who wants to be in that number?
Amen.
What a glorious day that will be. The saints go marching.
Amen.
Trying to buy some time to see if I'm gonna get here to make announcements, but I guess I'll follow through what we know, so we don't linger and hold on. But I will make announcements for this coming Wednesday. We know that This is our family night. Amen?
Amen.
And we're going to be watching a movie called Miracles in Heaven. I don't know if you've seen that one. Anybody seen that movie? It's Jennifer Garner is the kind of lead lady in this movie. And it's a true story based on true events. A young little girl got sick. And through that process, the mother herself lost her faith in God and all that. But in the end, you'll see what God still does and how miracles happen every day that we don't even recognize. We get up this morning, the alarm clock went off. Who got up by an alarm clock? God woke me up. I heard it. If I was dead, I wouldn't have heard it. God kept us all tonight. So little things like that. So the movies are very inspiring and lets you know, reaffirms to me that God still does what He says He does.
Amen.
All the miracles that we want to see, they're happening all around us. We just don't recognize them. And you'll see in the movie how subtle they are, but God works it out for the family. So we'll start at 6:30 because the movie is actually about an hour and 40 minutes, I think it is. So we got to start at 6:30, which will run through about 8:15. So we need to get started on time. So plan on catching the beginning of it. Please be here, try to make it. And we will be doing feeding. I'm not sure, I think our menu is spaghetti this
No,
week.
it's lasagna, goulash.
Goulash, yeah,
Goulash.
something like that, okay.
Yeah.
So goulash. So whoever's getting that together, are you part of that?
Yeah.
Okay. See me, well, I'll have to come to you.
It's okay.
I gotta give you some money for that. I don't have my wallet.
It's okay.
Okay, so Wednesday, what else we got? Anybody else? Somebody getting pie in the face.
My wife.
Lenora.
Was that Wednesday?
Yes.
I'll be here.
And we'll do that after the movie's over with, after our prayer, because that way, people who don't want to stay around, hang around for that, we want to open up, prolong the evening, but we'll do that. Somebody get pie. And I'm making sure I'm bringing pie stuff.
That's all right, because you're going to be the first one in the bin.
And speaking of, our fundraiser for this month is just about tallied up. So today, I guess Wednesday night will be the last night.
Actually, we'll do 2 pies. Wednesday, we'll tally this week, announce who won, and then we'll do by popular demand who will stand beside Nora. So, Brother Jeff.
Yeah, that's
That
right.
is
Well, that's
so
real
wrong.
life.
So if you haven't given to the fundraising efforts, you might want to make sure Brother Jeff gets a pie. Today will be your opportunity, so let's make sure we take advantage of that, amen?
Amen.
What else we have? Anybody else? Happy? My mind's blurred. Well, if not, we'll get to the Wednesday. Without further ado, let's go.
And everybody was already thanking Brother Jeff, which just wanted to make sure.
That's so wrong.
I tell you what, I love when we come together as a church. It's good to laugh. But more times than not through the week, it's just been rough. So sometimes through the week we forget how to laugh about things. Seems like things just get so overwhelming and just keep on piling up. And even things that shouldn't be chaotic seems like they get that way. And that's when you step back a minute and look, man, there was no reason in the world that should even be chaotic. Y'all ever have those moments? Like I said, I think I talked to myself a lot in here, but anyway. Our story this morning is going to come from the book of Genesis. Starting at chapter 37, when you find that, go ahead and raise your Bible in the air. I want you to find that. Genesis, starting at chapter 37. our Bible, don't we? Had to stay in the Bible. All right, repeat after me, please. God's word.
God's word.
Keep me from sin.
Keep me from sin.
Sin. Keep me from God's word.
Keep me from God's word.
Y'all believe that yet?
Amen.
Man, I hope you do. If not, hold on. Those that missed Sunday school this morning for whatever reason, man, I wish. I'm going to have to start sharing one or two things with a couple of you through the week just to see that I'm not lying to you. Okay? Because from Sunday school to one or two of the songs to different things that have went on, man, I swear you would think that we all run around together studying the same lesson we're going to go through today. Because it all ties in. And I see this every Sunday that happens. You would think that we're studying together and that we're looking for things that would touch on the things that we go on. And I tell you that the song our brother picked for us all to sing, "What a Friend We Have in Jesus."
Amen.
Man, the words of that song, as we were going through some of those lines, it's like he didn't even know what the lesson was going to be on today, and seeing how things work. But as we get started in the lesson, we're going to take a look at the story of Joseph. And through this story, and we're not going to read it all, but we're going to go through it all. But the story is found from chapter 37 to chapter 45. And I encourage you to take a look at that. I don't care if you know it by heart. I encourage you to take a deeper look at it this week as you get time. But while we look at this, and while we take a look at what all Joseph went through, you know, we all go through storms from time to time, don't we? We all have trials we're going to go through. The Bible teaches us count it all joy when we find ourselves in these. Okay? That's kind of hard to do, isn't it? And we're going to take a look at why it's kind of hard to do. But there's 7 traits that if we would develop, we're going to be different when we come out of the storm than while we're in it. We're going to be different before we go through it. And with these 7 traits, if you're still going through what seems to be the same relentless storm, as you write these down, you need to take an honest look and see if you've got any of these traits to you. And if not, we work to develop them, okay? But these are 7 traits to develop while you wait. We don't like having to wait, do we? We're going to take a look at one individual in the Bible today, man, he had to do some waiting. And it wasn't just this, oh, nice, and what we can, man, we're not in trials and tribulation a lot of time having to wait for something. We still impatient. Mad, we're taking everything on ourselves to try to do, and the whole time we're taking it out of God's hands again. And we get in trouble for that a lot. We tell the truth, each of us has done that one time or another, okay? Well, we're going to take a look at this. Starting in chapter 37, we'll show you this right here. With verse number 2, gives us a little background here. At the time this starts, Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren. And the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now, he was out there, his father sent him out there to check on the boys and to check on the flock and to see what was going on. And what happens that we see so many times, a little tattling going on it. Well, how many of you know, I mean, at times our kids are called tattletales, but you know what? If somebody wasn't breaking the rules, there wouldn't be no such thing as a tattletale, would there? So we get mad at the tattletale, don't we? And instead of saying, you know what, if I wouldn't have done that, there wouldn't have been nothing for him to tell on. Well, what we see is Joseph goes back and he gives a report to his dad about the evil things that he sees. And they don't go into detail about what those things were, but you see that there was some things going on here. Now, any good parent, when they're told something, they're going to question the deeds that they were told, weren't they? And we know he does this, and it fuels that resentment between the brothers. It goes on here, it says in verse 3, Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age. And he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brothers saw their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him because I speak peaceably unto him. Okay, we see here, he's already feeling this. When he goes and tattles, man, they go get mad about it. But then they see that his father's made him a special coat. He ain't done that for them. So that makes him stand out a little bit more, don't it? So then jealousy flares. We have jealousy everywhere we're at. We have it in churches, at work. It don't matter where you're at, it's going to take place. But then we see here Joseph don't help the matter. We see next. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brethren. They hated him yet the more. And he said to them, Here I pray you this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaves arose and stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about and made obeisance unto the sheaf. In other words, they bowed down to that sheaf. Okay? So they already didn't like him at all, did they? So you think that dream tickled them a little bit. You know, it goes on and it says they questioned him. So wait a minute. You're saying we're all going to bow down to you? Yeah, okay. All right, we see that. Well, it doesn't stop there. Joseph dreamed another dream. And it goes on to tell us that he was dreaming right here. It says yet another dream in verse 9. And he told his brethren and said, Behold, I've dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obedience to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren. And his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves unto thee to the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the same. In other words, the brothers got even mad. But the father took them in. At first he didn't like it. What do you mean? So me and your mama and all your brothers are going to bow down to you, and you're my youngest kid. Didn't sit right with him at first, did it? Well, see, he took a minute. How many times if we would take a minute before we reacted, we'd start to see things just a little bit different. See, we don't do it. Somebody says something, we key in on that, here we go. Instead of taking a minute. We took a minute, and he started to observe this saying. Now, I can't help but think he's sitting there going, okay, now wait a minute, this is two dreams, and both dreams are the same. Okay, God, what are you trying to show my son? All right, so what happens now? Like I said, we're not going to read word for word, but we're going to move on through this. What happens next is the brothers go on ahead into a different part, and they've got the flock there again. Well, Daddy sends Joseph out to check on the brothers, make sure the affairs are going like they should. And as he gets to where the brothers are supposed to be, they're not there. So he asks this man where they're at. They tell him they went on to another place. And I think it's Durham is where it said they went. But anyway, so when Joseph goes to find them there, they recognize him before he even gets close to them. They done keyed in on that coat, didn't they? Seen it coming. You ever seen somebody coming before they seen you and you already just get mad about it? Oh my goodness, here they are again. We've all been there, haven't we? So we see this going, and what happens? They don't renew their mind about things, do they? So they start plotting before the brother even gets there. Hey, you know what? When he gets close, let's just overtake him and kill him. Ain't nobody gonna know. It's just us up here. Dad's all the way back over here. We can make up something. So they're plotting on him, and he's just, here he comes. He just keeps coming. But the oldest brother, Reuben, said, you know what, let's not shed any blood here. Let's take him. There's a dry well. Let's throw him in the pit until we can figure out what to do here. So he tosses them into doing that. So they do the lesser of two evils. They overtake him. They strip the coat off of him. They throw him in the pit. And what we see is they go a little further than that. It says Reuben is absent from them, and the other brothers are left there by themselves with Joseph. As you look, you've got is it Ishmaelites? Or Midianites, I'm sorry. The merchant men start approaching. So the brothers start scheming again. That's, you know what? Why don't we sell him? We don't do this, let's sell him, we'll get rid of him, we'll take the coat, we'll tear the coat to pieces, we'll take the blood of one of the goats, we'll put it on it, we'll go back and tell Dad one of these evil animals killed him. So what do? They pull him up out of there and they sell him into slavery. They take that coat and they cut it up, put blood on it, and they're ready to tell a lie. And when Reuben gets back and finds Joseph not in the pit, man, it bothers him. He's wondering where it was. See, we kind of gather from this, Reuben had some other plans. I can't help but think some of the commentary also that's on this tells, it's believed that he was going to come back and get him out of that pit once everybody had went on. You ever been like that in your life? You don't do what you know you should right then, but you got plans to make it right later when everybody else ain't around. You ever been like that? See, we see that with Reuben, and what happens? It's the same thing that happens to each and every one of us when we do that, when we have that attitude. Something else takes place before we can make the deed right, don't we? So what we see is the brothers take him out, sell him into slavery. Now Joseph's gone. He's moved on now. They've got him here, and we start seeing this unfold as they go back and the brothers tell the daddy, this evil animal has killed your youngest son. Man, he goes all to pieces, don't he? It almost grieves him to death as the story is told. And then what we're going to do now is move on over here and find out what happened. In chapter 39, it says, and Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hand of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, that the Lord made all that he did prosper in his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him observer over all his house, and that that everything he had was put in his hand. And it came to pass from the time that he made him overseer in the house, and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hands, and he knew not aught what he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. First thing we want to look at, Joseph accepted what happened to him. Acceptance is the first trait you look for. So many of us get that attitude of why me, why is this happen, why I got to go through this, why is this one sick, why am I? Acceptance. Because what happens when we're caught up in that stumbling block, the roadblock, the wall that we build, we can't move on from the why me, can we? We're stuck on why God, why this. Really? Because if we really took a minute and took common sense, which a lot of us from time to time are lacking, we can answer that ourselves. But we look at this though, if you accept things, you know what? I don't like what's happened to me, but I can't do anything right now to change that, so I need to keep moving forward. I can't help where I'm at right now, but I can help if I stay here or not. So what we see here is, man, Joseph accepted he'd been sold into slavery. Now he could have, when he arrived and Potiphar bought him, he could have took that, I ain't nobody's slave. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do my brothers. Oh, I hate my brothers. What would have happened? God wouldn't have blessed him and wouldn't have prospered him, would he? He'd have been like so many more of us, wouldn't he? But what happened when he accepted that, he didn't lose sight of something. The one that held him in his hands. And that's God. So as he moves on and you see this, he starts, when he gets there, man, he starts doing what he can. The skills he's got, the talents he's got, he's using it for the ones that are over him. And what did it say? And God blessed him and everything that his hand touched it. Said it blessed him so much that Potiphar, the master over him, didn't even know the things that he had. Why? Because he trusted Joseph with everything. Said the only thing the man knew was the bread sitting in front of him. My goodness. Can you be trusted like that? See, a lot of us will say yes, but then we know we can't be if we told the truth. But man, we see here he could, and because he could, what happened? Man, he got blessed beyond belief. Come from a slave to now you're over the affairs of my house? Man, everything is under your hand, and I ain't worried about anything. And that's what was happening here. Well, that went for a little while, don't it? And then we see that Potiphar's wife starts looking at him. Man, he's a good-looking young man, and ooh, she starts lusting after him. So what happens? Satan tries to throw a stumbling block to him. And he gets in here, and man, you see this, he's trying to flee from the situation. Okay? And as this goes on, and he keeps resisting, and he keeps getting away from her, she finds him in the house by himself doing work. She comes into him again. What happens? As he goes to flee, that's the key word. How many of you, though, when evil comes or temptation comes, we don't flee, do we? We stay there a minute or two. Ain't nobody around. We'll be all right. See, that's what gets us in trouble, ain't it? We don't flee when we know we should. Flee's to get out of there with haste. At all, man, if we would start doing that when temptations come. What we see here is when he tried to flee and get away, man, she grabbed a hold of his garment, and he was trying so hard, he ran out without his garment. So she had it. So now she's scorned because she's been turned down. Now you look, yeah, if Joseph would have gave in, he could have kept himself out of prison for a minute or two, but no evil goes unnoticed, and it will not go unrewarded. So even though he would have kept himself out for a minute, the inevitable is still the inevitable. Ain't nothing you do in secret that's not going to come out. So then how much worse would it have been? Because now not only would he have been put in jail because of what he did, but he had also had God against him. See, that's an important thing to see with Joseph. He didn't do anything to put God against him. So what happens is when Potiphar comes home, his wife tells him that Joseph tried to make advances on her, and we know that's not what happened, but he believed it. So then he called Joseph in, and he takes him and he has him cast into the prison. And we pick up here at verse 20 in chapter 39. And it says, "And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound. And he was there in the prison, but the Lord was with Joseph, and showed him mercy, and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison." Our brother asked a question earlier. Do y'all ever feel like you're alone? You ever feel just alone no matter who's around you or what you're going through? See, one thing we see with Joseph is it quickly tells us no matter what situation happens with him, but God was with him. Okay? And it goes on, it says right here, verse 22, "But the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison. And whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him. And that which he did, the Lord made to prosper." Number 2, hard work. So many times we'll say we're about hard work, but really we're working hard to find a couch to lay on. We're working hard on how to get out of one. Number 1 was acceptance to the situation. Number 2 of the traits is hard work. You see, no matter what happened to Joseph, no matter where they put him, hard work led to the blessings that God gave him. You see the favor there. Now, he could have got mad again, couldn't he? This woman lied on me. I didn't do not one thing that I could have done. Even when we were by ourselves, I still didn't do it. And now I'm in jail because I didn't do what I'm accused of. See, we get hung up on stuff like that, don't we? But you see here, he was still blameless before God. He didn't do these things. But what happened? He didn't let that hard-heartedness get him, did he? He come in, he starts doing what he knows to do. He starts working hard. And he starts to believe. Now, something I want y'all to keep in your mind. Why do you think he was able to do these things, to keep going, no matter what has happened? He's been betrayed. He's been through in a pit so far. He brought out, he set up over this master's house for a minute, and now he's threw back in prison again. I think you just said it. Relationship. He had faith too. He had 2 dreams, didn't he? Yeah. Now, how many of us, we talked about this months ago, because you can't see the big picture of something, you get all upset over the pieces you're handing. See, Joseph could have got upset over the pieces he was handing, but he didn't, did he?
Right.
Why? Because he'd already seen the bigger picture of things. He didn't fully understand it, but he believed God was going to hold to what he'd already showed him. How many of you know God's already made us promise after promise after promise in this? But we still get stumbled, we still get robbed, we still lose our mind. Why? Because we don't have the faith we're supposed to. We don't have the relationship we're supposed to have with them. See, when you truly have a relationship with somebody, how many of you know, even though you might not get a hold of them there for the minute, you know they're still there? How many of you have been praying about something this week, but you swear that you just couldn't hear the Word of God? You just didn't feel His presence. So then you went to doubt, oh, this is going to go wrong, and this is... How many of us done that this week? Why? Because He didn't audibly go, oh, thou shalt be. Really? Where's your faith there? See, no matter what piece we're handed, we're still supposed to have faith in the bigger picture of things. We don't have to understand. And we see this here through Joseph, the two traits first, to accept whatever it is you're in, but to work hard to move past that. See, once we do that and we're about that hard work, and we're not dwelling on that, are we? We're not dwelling on what happened to us in the past.
Right.
We're not dwelling on what we were done wrong by a minute ago. What now we're working hard to keep moving on.
Right.
So as he does this, we're going to look at the next one. Patience. That's your third trait to be developed. I caution people, do not pray for patience. You need to work on that yourself. It's like, well, God, I know you can deliver that. Me and him done had that conversation. And it took 1.5 years to get me through back surgery. And that was right before I prayed for patience. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was right after I prayed for patience. My bad. So I learned quickly, I will not ask God for patience no longer. I need to be developed in that. How? Through accepting things, through working hard, and believing in Him. As we see this man, Joseph's been on a little roller coaster here, done had these 2 dreams, now he's a slave, he's a servant. Now he's in prison. My goodness, let's see what happens here. And it came to pass after these things that the butler of the king of Egypt and his baker had offended their lord, the king of Egypt. And Pharaoh was wroth against 2 of his officers, against the chief of the butlers and against the chief of the bakers. And he put them inward in the house of the captains of the guard, into the prison, the place where Joseph was bound. We talk about this a lot. Realizing God's already working behind the scenes before you even know He's there doing what He's doing. We take this, could it be a coincidence? These 2 men had offended Pharaoh. Now, here's what I try to key on. They offended him and he didn't kill him. What did he do? He put him in prison. This is Pharaoh. Make him mad and he takes your head. It's that simple. You offend the king, you lose your life. That's how the laws of the land were back then. But we see here, he puts him in prison where Joseph sat. Let's move here then. As the butler and the baker are in prison, they have a dream. And when they have this dream, they discover nobody can interpret it. We go down here to verse 8. And they said to him being Joseph, we have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. And Joseph said unto them, do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me them, I pray you. And the chief butler told his dream to Joseph, and said to him, in my dream, behold, a vine was before me. And in the vine there was 3 branches, and it was thought it budded, and her blossoms shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup. And I gave the cup to Pharaoh. And Joseph said to him, this is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head, and restore thee into thy place. And thou shalt deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand, after the former manner when thou wast his butler. But think on me when you shall be well, and show kindness, I pray thee, unto me, and make mention of me to Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. See, Joseph was working hard, and he was thinking. Even though he had patience, he was trying to prepare a way. He was trying to just, remember me when you get out. Remember I'm sure they've shared their stories. They've been in prison together. So remember me, man, I'm of the Hebrew people, and this is what's happened, and let's move on. And then it says, and Joseph said to him, this is the interpretation of it. Now he's talking about the baker. I lost my place there for a minute. Verse 14. But think on me when you shall be well with him, show kindness, I pray thee, and to me, make mention of me to Pharaoh, bring me out of this house. Verse 15. For indeed I was stolen away out of the land of the Hebrews, and here also have I done nothing that they should put me into this dungeon. When the chief baker saw the interpretation was good, he said to Joseph, I also was in my dream, and beheld, I had 3 white baskets on my head, and in the uppermost basket there was all manners of baked meats for Pharaoh, and the birds did eat them out of the basket upon my head. And Joseph answered and said unto him, this is the interpretation thereof, 3 baskets are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head from off thee, and shall hang thee on a tree, and the bird shall eat thy flesh from off thee. And it came to pass the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all the servants. And he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief butler unto his butlership again, and gave the cup to Pharaoh's hands. But he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgot him. So Joseph still did good to these men. Interpret their dreams and ask him to remember when you get out of there. And as simple as you think it should be, he didn't do it, did he? There was some patience still being worked on there, wasn't there? Okay? Now what gets you through when what you think should simply happen simply don't? Joseph had to remember it was about God's timetable, didn't he? He had to remember, even though he was seeking a solution and God had provided him with talents, and it still wasn't time yet. How many of us, we have trouble with the time thing, don't we? We say we're good for a minute, and then we go all to pieces about things. Then we start trying to remove things from God again. Did you see Joseph start bucking and start all this why me stuff again? No, he did not. So what happens? He patiently endures what was going on. And then we see God at work again. Pharaoh has a dream. Many of you know, just cause what you think should happen, even though it don't, just be faithful. God is still working. What happens again? God brings another dream about it. So Pharaoh has a dream. He finds out no one can interpret this dream. So then what happens? Verse 9 of chapter 41 says, Then spake the chief butler to Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. What was his fault he remembered?
He didn't tell him.
Didn't tell him. He knows a man, don't he? So he tells him about this servant, this Hebrew servant, and the interpretation he gave of the 2 men, and how the dreams came true to what Joseph said they were going to. So Pharaoh called him out of prison straight away. And Pharaoh brings him up, and he tells him his dream. And as he's telling him his dream, or wanting to tell him his dream, there's something that's just very important that happens here when Joseph gets called up. I want to show you right here in verse 15. We'll back up just a minute. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard said of thee that thou canst dream a dream to interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh the answer of peace. Number 4, integrity. Integrity. We see that from Potiphar's wife. He had integrity. Got him put in prison, didn't he? Why? Because he held to his moral standards and what he knew was right with God. We move on there, then we see he's in the prison. When he's asked about the dreams, integrity. He didn't say, I can do it. He says, God will give the answer. Now he's standing before Pharaoh, and we see integrity again, don't we? He says, God gives the answers. It's not me. See, he doesn't compromise things that he thinks could, it could benefit him. How many of us realize that when we stop that making things about us and put it to God, we will see Him bless in just extraordinary ways? As we move here, when Joseph said, God shall give Pharaoh an answer, Pharaoh said to Joseph, in my dream, behold, I stood on the bank of the river. His dream's talking about he's seen 7 fatted calves or cows come out of the river, and then he had 7 skinny ones come out. They devoured the good ones. Then he says, I had another dream. It was like the same. He's talking about 7 good corn stalks of the leaf, and 7 bad ones come and took them away. And Joseph interprets that dream, and he says, this is what it is. He says, there's going to be 7 good years of plenty, followed by 7 years of drought, where nothing is going to grow. And he tells the king, you've seen this twice. You've had 2 dreams about the same thing. This is God establishing what is going to happen, and it's going to come swiftly. Well, then he says, if I might give you advice, we see this from verse 33 to 36. If I might give you some advice, I would search for a wise man to set over the affairs. Those that can be over the fields and over these cities and take in certain portions of the grain and prepare for what's coming. See, we could take a lesson from this, couldn't we? We might be going through good times right now, but are you making preparations for the bad times that are going to follow? See, so many of us aren't. We live from day to day, minute to minute, paycheck to paycheck, and it's hard on us. Because why? We don't stop and look and try to prepare. And I said, we, okay? Like I shared earlier, I've been having to work on myself for quite a few years with this same stuff. You know, trying to learn from past mistakes, trying to move past it, and as we do, trying to help everyone else get by it too. See, because over my lifetime, I wanted to be able to help others instead of having to have other people help me all the time. And that's one goal that we look at here, is trying to change everyone's life till you can turn around and be able to help others. That you no longer look at what you can do for me, but what can I be doing for somebody else? I see that's what we're trying to move for. And that's what you see Joseph here. Joseph doesn't say, you know what, set me over this, do this. No, he just says, find a wise man and take care of this. And let's see what happens. Verse 37. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a one as this, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? And Pharaoh said to Joseph, forasmuch as God hath showed you all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto my word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than you. He just made him his second in command. My goodness. From the pit to a palace. What a journey. How many of us still in the pit? Why? Because we ain't accepted nothing. We've not tried to work to get out of it. We've not had the patience it takes to get there. And we have been lacking on our integrity on things. See, these are not just good things to try to look at, but if you want to go from the pit to the palace, these are 7 things that we need. Number 5, humility. You've seen this because Joseph didn't go in and start bragging about himself and the things he could do, the things he did, and oh, how God was using him to do this. He had humility, didn't he? He put the glory where it should be, and that was to God and God alone. You know, God can do this for you. Joseph was just a tool for God. And we see because he had this humility, he didn't think of himself. Our brother defined it earlier in Sunday school. That's why I said I'm going to have to start telling you all some tidbits to watch for. He mentioned this, humility, not thinking of yourself more highly than you should. Don't we all have a problem with that? If you don't think so this week, when you go to tell a story about something, just start doing this with your fingers. Count how many times I was mentioned, me, and if you get off with one hand, just stop your story and go, wait, tell the rip. No, because I've been learning. Why? To watch things, to be humble. We see this because he was humble. What did Pharaoh say? Can we find another one such as this that the Spirit of the Lord is in? He didn't come in here bragging about nothing and didn't even say, let me do it. He said, find a man. My goodness. How many of us are so caught up on what we want, when we want, how we want to do it, that we fail to leave off letting God do it. So we all get in trouble from that from time to time. Okay? Now, as we see this and God sets him up, let's move on. And it says, and Pharaoh said to Joseph, see, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it on Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him to ride in the second chariot which he had. And they cried before him, bow the knee, and he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. We see in the big picture? Who's bowing down now? This ain't even his people. And now he's over all the land of Egypt, and they're bowing down to him the same as they would Pharaoh. Oh my goodness. Man, oh man. Now, let's look at this. There's another key to this. What did Joseph do while he was going through all this? From the pit to the palace? Number 6, he blessed others. He took his talents, he took his abilities that God gave him and used them to bless others. While he was in these houses, what did it say? God was with him and God blessed everything his hand touched. God made those people that was over Joseph prosper because of Joseph's faithfulness to him. What happens when that happened? It caused Joseph to receive favor from all those around him. Man, do you want it to truly be where God prepares a table before you in the presence of your enemy? Bless others with what he's gave you, with the abilities he's gave you. And when you're blessing them, just like Sunday school was talking about, don't do it to be men pleasers or to be seen. You do it from love. You do it because you can. Do it because you want to. Not just to be noticed. Look at me, look what I'm doing. Okay? As we see this, Joseph set up now, and it says that Pharaoh gave him a wife, and now they went on, they've had 2 kids, and you see the blessings that keep going, and Joseph's traveling throughout the cities, and you can read this on in the story, but he's traveling throughout the cities, and he set up storehouses, and he's putting grain up, and he's preparing for the hardships to come. And now let's look how this thing comes around. Chapter 42. It says, now when Jacob saw that there was no corn in Egypt, Jacob being Joseph's daddy, wasn't it? Said unto his sons, why do we look one upon the other? And he said, behold, I've heard that there is corn in Egypt. Get you down there and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not die. And Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn in Egypt. Who are they going to have to buy corn from? Man, ain't God something. Did Joseph know that was even coming? You know why? Because he wasn't holding a grudge with them. Joseph was doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing for the Lord. He wasn't letting the past hold on to him and drag him down. He was moving on with things. How many of you know the past will destroy your present and keep you from ever reaching the future? You ever realize that? Man, God showed me that for many years now. Now, there's things that's going to bump us from time to time when we dwell on it. But what should happen, man, when we think about things, renew our minds. You know what? There ain't nothing I can do about that over there. Ain't nothing I can do about that. But I can do something about right now. I can trust in this thing that I don't have to see the bigger picture yet. I just know God has not got me where He used to have me, and I'm still going forward to where I know He wants me to be. I don't have to know that destination. All I have to know is there's this narrow, straight path that leads to where that's at. That's going to cut out a lot of confusion for people. I don't know the will of God for my life. Well, go down the straight path, and you're going to be right in the direction you need to be. Well, that means I got to quit going over here? Yeah. Let's not make this more difficult than it needs to be. Straight path. He said, don't go to the left or to the right. Joseph didn't go to the left or the right, did he? He stayed on the straight path. What do we see about to happen? His daddy, that long has thought that he's dead. Let me show you something. He was what did it say, 17? When this journey started. It's thought to believe through the history timeline and all this other stuff, I believe that he is now 30 years old. 30 years from the age of 17, now he's 30. That took a minute, didn't it? How many of us, we prayed for a month or two and we're already impatient, mad, and distraught? It ain't never gonna happen. Really? Yeah, 5 minutes. You like me, a minute and a half if you're lucky. But that's when we need to renew our mind on things. So I joke a lot when I go to the doctor's office. You're in there and the doctor's running behind and the patients don't have patience because they're just ready to kill him. Now, why do you think they call us patients? Because they expect you to have some. And they'll lie. It's funny. How long have you been here? It's about 3 hours. And I'm really working on this patience thing. But, you know, we fail in that, don't we? What happens? That we set ourselves back again. Let's show you this. As this went on, he's now 30 years old, and the drought has come. And we're about to see something. Now his brothers are on the way to Egypt. And they get down there to Egypt. Lo and behold, who they have to see. But you know what? Man, that's a long time, isn't it? Lots changed with Joseph. Joseph's now wearing their garments. He looks like they look. Don't even recognize Joseph. And what we see, and we're not going to read it directly, but what is funny, Joseph don't talk to them in their language. He uses an interpreter. See, what's so funny about it is Joseph recognized him right off the bat. Why? Because I'd say there's not a day went by that he didn't think about his family. I'm sure Joseph wondered at times, well, why didn't they love me? Why did they think they had to do that to me? I love my brothers. I miss my dad and my mom. I know that had to be going through his mind. But you see, the reason I know for sure, man, he recognized them like that. As soon as he seen them. Now, would he have been like some of us? Arrest them and put them in jail. Beat them on the way. Drop them a time or two. Bump them into things. You know? What it says, he recognized them. He uses an interpreter to talk to them. And he goes on and he sells them some grain. He sells them some goods. But what happens is, in the midst of this deal, he starts to question them, are you a spy? Have you come? Starts messing with them, don't he? Starts worrying them a little bit. He even takes one of them and puts them in jail to ensure the brothers have to come back. Because as he's talking to them, he finds out there's another younger brother. There's been a brother born after him. His name's Benjamin. Well, Joseph wants them to go and bring Benjamin back. Well, they don't want to, because they know what they've done to Joseph. How many of you have realized yet the reason they're about to have to do this, I can't help but think to put the memory back to what they've already put their daddy through. And now Joseph's asking them to do it again. So as this goes on, he puts one of the brothers in jail to ensure they have to come back to get him. Not to be mean, but to make sure they come back. But Joseph does something when they're not looking. He takes the money that they paid him, and he puts it back in their bags, along with the goods that he sold them, and he sent them on their way. Now as they get home, they get back to dad, they're thinking, how in the world are we going to explain we done lost another brother, and now we got to take the youngest brother back. I can't imagine the dilemma they were going through that whole trip back. Well, then when they look in the bags and, uh-oh, there's the money we paid. Dear Lord, which one of you stole this? Now that's us if we was looking at him. Brother Jeff, you know, we'd be questioning each other. Brother Joseph, did you stick that in the bag? Whatever it is. So they're already worried now because it's like, now how are we going to explain to this man that's already got our brother in jail? We didn't steal the money back with the goods. Man, you look at this thing, he's making them sweat a little bit, isn't he? All in the bigger scheme of things. So as they go back, they explain to their dad, you know, we're supposed to take Benjamin back, and we got to go back. And he says, no, not taking him back. I've already lost one son, and it almost put me in the ground. And you'll see this in the story. He says, if I send the youngest one and this happens, I know it's going to kill me. I can't take losing another. That's what he tells them. So you see some time goes back. He don't let them go right back. So time goes on again. And what do we see happens? The inevitable. God's plan is going to work out no matter what we try to throw in the way of. So they run out of grain again. So then we come here. It says the second trip to Egypt is found in chapter 43. So the daddy lets him go back, and the sons promised nothing would happen to Benjamin. They will not lose one of his sons again. And if they do and they come back, he can kill every one of them. Like that's going to make things better. You done lost 2 sons, now you're going to go ahead and take care of the other ones. But we see he lets him go. And he don't just let him go. He says, hey, you're going to take back double what come back in these bags. And you're going to take a gift into him. And he's trying to prepare the way. Why? To ensure that his sons come home. So he's trying to prepare these gifts and to prepare a way. And as they arrive and they get there and they come into Joseph's house, and they still don't even recognize him. And as they come into him, he comes out to meet them. My goodness, I couldn't imagine the emotions Joseph's feeling. And it shows us this. He breaks down a time or two. As the brothers come in and he sees them and he gets to see Benjamin and he starts asking about the father, the story actually tells us he has to step out of it. He's had a meal prepared for them and they're getting ready to come in and eat together and he steps out. Well, then it says he comes back in and they have a meal together. They're sitting there and they still don't even know Joseph can understand a word they're saying. And as this is going on and he's using this interpreter to talk, he's already thinking about some things. He finds out his dad's still alive and well. And what do we see happens next? As he loads them up and going to send them back, he has his interpreter, his servant, slip his silver chalice cup into the youngest brother's bag and sends them on their way. He lets them get out of the city a little bit, and Joseph looks at that man and says, go get him. Go bring him back. As they go out there and they find, you see the oldest brother Reuben's, he's trying, no, none of us is stolen, none of us is this. And it goes on to the extent of, how our master has had mercy on you and he's done all these things, and how you going to steal from him? His cup's missing. No, ain't none of us, none of this is happening. And boy, if it has, let the one that's done it be a servant. Boy, he didn't even know what he was running that mouth about, did he? It would see, we got to be careful what we say. Because a lot of times we don't realize that somebody already knows the whole story, do we? Maybe they're testing us to see what we're going to say before they let us know they know everything. See, we fail at that a lot, don't we? We take for granted because it's not been made transparent to us that we're still where we need to be to cover things. And we're not. We see this with him. He didn't even know what he was talking about. I already saying, let him be made a servant. Joseph's servant already knew where the cup was. He put it there. Instead of him just saying, I don't know what's happening. You're welcome to look in all the bags. He starts running that mouth reckless. And what happens? He starts with the oldest brother, and he's still messing with him. Starts with the oldest brother, and the story tells he goes down to the youngest, which is Benjamin, and opens the bag, and what does he find? That silver cup. What are you going to say now? As he goes on trying to plead, trying to beg, they bring Benjamin back. And Joseph tells them, you all go on and you bring Daddy back. We don't say Daddy yet. He says, y'all bring your father back. Bring him back here. As we see this, and as what happens here, we're going to see what happens next. It's forgiveness. Number 7 of your church to develop is forgiveness. So we see here in chapter 45, after he's done all this, and the brothers come back with Benjamin, and they're begging him, pleading Joseph, don't send us back to Dad without the youngest brother. Don't send us back. Man, take one of us, take all of us, take whatever, but don't let us have to go back without him. And he's pleading with him and begging him. And then he goes on and it says, if we do this, it's going to kill our father. That's when it touches the heart of Joseph. See here it says, then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them that stood by him. And he cried and caused everyone to go out from him. And there stood no man with him while Joseph made himself known unto his brethren. In other words, all the Egyptians, he made them go out of the house. The only ones left was Joseph and his brothers. And then it says, and he wept aloud, and the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Doth my father yet live? And his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence. And Joseph said to his brothers, come near to me, I pray you. And they come near, and he said, I am Joseph, your brethren, whom you sold unto Egypt. Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves, that you sold me hither. For God did send me before you to preserve life. For these 2 years hath the famine been in the land, and yet there are 5 years in the which they shall neither be any earnings or harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve you a prosperity in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So now it was not you that sent me hither, but God. And he hath made me a father to Pharaoh, and a lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. Now, he tells him, now, go back and get our father and bring him here so I can take care of him. Man, oh man. He didn't let him forget, did he? But what did he remind him? Yeah, it wasn't you that did it. God sent me to prepare a place for you all. Throughout our lives, when we've been done wrong, and we've been done wrong a lot in this life, are you quick to try to see what God's doing behind the scenes? I don't understand it. It don't feel good. It hurts. I don't get it. But God, what was the bigger picture of it? As we take a look at this and we take a look at all of these things he did, from acceptance to hard work, patience, integrity, humility, by blessing others, and the final one, forgiveness, we see that Joseph was living the life Jesus talked about in Matthew 5:44, where he says, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you. And by doing this, you're going to show the love of God, aren't you? As we see this, man, Joseph could have really put them through some things. But Joseph realized some things along his journey, didn't he? I can't help, Romans 8:28 was screaming at me during this whole story. All things work for the good of those that love the Lord and are called according to his will. As we see this with Joseph, no matter what happened to him, he never lost sight of what God promised him. And we see that all things did work for the good of him, didn't it? Why? Because he loved the Lord above all else. And he practiced everything that God teaches us now we're to be doing. By him forgiving, he not only restored his brothers, but he set himself free from the wrongs they did in the past. See, how many of you know until you truly forgive somebody, you can't move on from there? No matter how hard you try, I mean, I've tried it. No matter how hard you try, you're still going to be stuck at that one spot, that one thing. And when we think about things, yeah, they're going to bother us. But then they stir up the hate and anger inside you, that wrath. Because if they do, you've not forgiven. So you're going to think about things. It might be times you wonder, but it ain't on you to understand. Now, we know we're to forgive others so God can forgive us. And we see here that Joseph put them through some times of sweating a little bit about things, didn't he? I look at that as some penance. for what they had done, without it truly really costing them what it should have. But we see here through every bit of this, it was working to not only prepare their hearts, but to also show that mercy that God has given each and every one of us. My question is, in these 7 traits we've looked at, characteristics, what would we find missing in ourselves today? What is it that's keeping us from getting from the pit to the palace? Now, let me tell you something, I ain't talking about earthly riches. If you're waiting on earthly riches, you're already on the wrong path. Because we're supposed to be storing up treasures in heaven. Not things down here for the moth and everything to come in and destroy. Come in, if we go on, God forbid, the mess we're leaving for everybody else behind. But are we leaving good things for people? So as we look at this, what did Joseph say? God sent me to deliver you from this. God sent me to prepare, and that's what he did. Man, in doing what he was doing for the Lord and taking care of the Egyptians, he prepared to deliver every one of his people, didn't he? And that's what they did. He brought them all down to where he could take care of them. And they stayed there and they flourished. And what happened? They flourished so much, it started taking away from the storehouses and stuff. So what he started doing then was having each one that farmed and all of them to give back a percentage to go back to the storehouse.
That's right.
Why? Because he didn't lose sight of where they come from. See, don't lose sight of where you come from. Always try to keep that mindset where you're preparing to take care of others, not just yourself. And we see that's what he continued to do all the days of his life. He continued to serve God and take care of others. When we get in trouble is when we go all about me, my needs, my wants, my fears. It leads us to do some very stupid things in life. I'm saying we.
Yeah.
Whatever you find yourself going through, whatever trial you find yourself still in, take time this week to just stop and start looking. Where's God brought me from? Where am I at in this yet? Have I accepted what I'm in yet? Because if you haven't, you're not going to do any work to get out of it. You're going to use every excuse to stay in it. You're going to look for every excuse to get someone else to get you out of it. And that's how we are in this life. And now we're trying to teach as we learn to teach others. Those troubles are coming.
Yes.
What are you going to do? You going to run to God, or are you already going to be there with God waiting on Him? Me personally, I'm tired of having to run to Him. I want to be already standing there. I want it to be where when it comes, I'm not having to go to yelling out and praying and looking for Him. I can just look and say, you knew this was coming, didn't you? What do you have me to do while we're in this? See that relationship deal. We talk about it a lot in here. We try to teach others. But how is your relationship, truthfully? Would we do like we do with so many people? We claim we know Him. You ever had somebody ask, how do you know so-and-so? You know you don't know him for nothing. Well, yeah, I know him. We've all done that at one time or another, haven't we? Why? To try to relate. What would it hurt to go, I don't know that man whatsoever. Let's leave the next 30 minutes out of the story and you just get to the point. Why? Because you don't know him. We try the same thing with the Lord, don't we? You know, my God got me through. Yeah, I know. Oh, I know him. Let me tell you about the troubles I'm having. Wait a minute. You said you knew this God I was talking about. You ever thought about that? How many people that are claiming to be something for the Lord still seem like they're running to everybody about the same problems? Now, I'm not saying you don't have setbacks and hiccups and stuff. That ain't what I'm saying. But are you looking for other people to be your God? Or are you trusting God? Now, we're supposed to share, that's not what I'm talking about, our burdens with one another. But are you trusting in people to deliver you? Are you trusting in God? Well, don't get me wrong. If we're being the people we're supposed to, we're going to be tools for the Lord. what I'm getting at. Do you run with worry to other people? So the past couple of years, I've looked towards every direction I could for earthly individuals that should have some knowledge of things, and I've yet to find one. I don't mean there's not some earthly wise people. They didn't have no solutions to my problems. And it's like, really? And you know what, through every bit of that, there was a voice that I kept trying to ignore.
Yes, sir.
Simply saying, did I not tell you? I go before you. Oh. Yeah, but God, it looks really. I didn't tell you needed to understand it. I didn't tell you had to have all the answers. All I simply said was to trust and believe.
Yes.
We believe things until the world shows us a different picture, don't we? Have we learned? Look here, this young man. Have we learned? It doesn't matter what the world shows us. They don't have the final say of nothing that we had to go through. You don't know my situation. I don't have to know it. God knows it. My question is, how good do you know God? You're going to pray? Don't worry. You're going to worry? Don't pray. Now I know we'll have people, who you think you are? Because I'm still in the middle of a storm, and he showed me over and over and over again. This is his battle. This is his fight. And what do I have to do? Continue to do what I know I'm supposed to do. Taking care of others and let him worry about me. Because no amount of worry fixes a problem, does it? No amount of stress makes anything any better. No matter how long we're on the phone with somebody, it don't fix things, does it? But who, our brother said this morning, who is it we can go straight away to and find peace? Find so much peace that we have to start borrowing trouble because we're not troubled. And then we're messed up because it's like, yeah, I should be more worried about this than I ain't. So I'm troubled because I'm not troubled. That's stupid, ain't it? That's my life in a nutshell right there. And the whole time it's like, didn't I say I give you my peace? Huh? Quit borrowing trouble. We do that a lot, don't we? Not like today's going to have enough trouble of its own. We're going to borrow some more. This week, try to keep things simple. That's going to be a hard task. Try to keep it simple. Don't make more out of situations than what they truly are. Don't get twisted when you don't understand things. Just stop a minute. It's okay. And understand this right away. So, is that because I need to spend more time with you, Lord? There's been a spark. There's been a seed. God, now you bring the wisdom. Well, a lot of times we'll get distracted about something we're not fully understand, so we just shut down. We say this scripture verse that was read this morning, and when I showed it to Jensen, it was Proverbs what?
16.
Proverbs 16. You remember the first verse in it? Verse 1? Remember what it said? A wise son listens. This morning, and he's not in here right now, he'll have to watch the video. This morning, Jensen come in, we're trying to get ready. And I had one of these wall anchors, you know, the metal ones that you smush, go through the wall, and the screw opens it up and it holds against sheetrock. He found one of them in one of my tool bags this week. He loves when he finds things like that. Normally I don't, because then I can't find those later, because he had to use them. But he come in this morning, he said, Daddy, what bag was that thing in? I love that. That's how we talk a lot. We leave a lot out of the story. So then your mind's already thinking, thing, Lord, it's been 4 days. How many things have we seen? I'm like, you talking about the thing that goes through the wall and opens up? Yeah. Well, that's out in the orange box. I said, but there's another bag. And it's open, big black and red, and it's got these big plastic containers in it. And it's got those in it too. You know what he heard? It's in the garage. He didn't hear what I said about it's in a black and red bag with orange containers right there. So he comes in. He got the orange box. He comes in. His daddy had orange boxes under saws. And it's under all kinds of things. I said, son, I said it was in a black and red bag too, right in the open, big plastic containers in it. He still heard the garage. He goes out, he comes back in, man, he's pouring the sweat because it's hot in the garage. He's pouring the sweat. Is this the bag? I said, well, that's a little black and red one with no orange or no clear containers in it whatsoever. I said, well, let's just look at the problem. Look like you're about to have a heat stroke. And it's hot. It's hot in here too. I said, I got you. I said, but if you would have simply listened the first time I said it, would have saved you 4 trips to the garage. Now you're looking at the 5th trip, and you still don't even know what bag I'm talking about, do you? That ain't funny, Daddy. Simply listen. So what happened? I said, okay, black and red bag, yay big, plastic containers in it. He's gone for a few minutes, comes back in. Is this it, Daddy? Welcome to the conversation. Of course, I got to look. But it's like, son, that's with us with God. That's with us with everything. Because that was one of them God teaching me moments. Simply listen to what you're told. How many of us from work to home to wherever can relate to that? Someone is telling us details about something. And we're so jumbled in the mind, we ain't even heard not one word they said. And we walk up, I don't even know what they were talking about. You took 45 minutes of their life away from them to explain in detail, and you still don't know why? Because we don't listen to it. We see this story, man, Joseph was listening to things. Joseph didn't lose sight of things. We need to take a note from him, don't we? We need to learn to keep things simple. Joseph didn't get caught up in the dilemmas, how far he had to go or nothing else. He knew he was supposed to be doing exactly what he was doing at the time. Keep things simple this week. You don't understand something? Ask again. God forbid you keep looking in the wrong direction when somebody's already told you it's by your left foot. I can't find it by your left foot. I've looked all over the place except your left foot. We do that a lot, don't we?
Amen.
Don't let that be the rest of your week. This week, look at these 7 traits. Write them on your mirror. Put them on your refrigerator. Put them anywhere that you know you're going to look at yourself or you're going to be where it's going to get your attention. The rest of the week, look at those traits. See where you're lacking and be honest with yourself. Well, I ain't got no patience whatsoever. So I need to work on that. Do not pray for it. Work on it. You pray for it, you're going to open up a whole other ball game for yourself. Work on it. God, I don't have to pray you make me a hard worker. I just need to get off the couch. God, I don't have to pray that you teach me to accept things. I just got to see things different. Just got to see, you know what, worry ain't going to help me. Stressing ain't going to help me. What do I do to move forward? See, just keep it simple, okay? As the rest of your day goes on, try to practice it getting ready for the week. As you leave out today, there's a ton of people that wasn't here this morning for whatever reason. I know there's several of you that were sick this week, probably sick yesterday. A lot of times sickness finds us, don't it? Even if it's for the day. Man, it's rough. Go back and tell somebody what you learned today. You don't have to go into detail, bore them to death, whatever. So you know what? We looked at the story of Joseph. 7 traits. It's going to help us get from the pit to the palace. Oh, he one of them prosperity preachers? No, it ain't about earthly wealth. He's talking about your soul. See, we got to change the way the world looks at the body of Christ, don't we? Oh, they want you tithes. I've heard that all my life. And for most of my life, hey, it is what it is. But here's the thing. What good is that if your soul is bound for hell? Not one, is it?
Amen.
We don't want to change your day. We want you to see that Christ come to change your life so that you can have life more abundance. You know that abundance isn't talking about worldly wealth. He's going to take care of your needs. But if you look at the apostle that was preaching that man had an abundant life. Abundant means full. Lord, he was falsely imprisoned many times, beaten falsely many times. He was shipwrecked. That man went through some things, didn't he? He had a full life. You want to look at that, just stop and look at your problems this week differently. How many of you had a full life this week? Will you look at things differently? We are in a war, spiritual warfare every day. Will you quit seeing things with your physical eyes and start seeing who the true enemy is? Question for the week. I ask everybody to bow their head and close their eyes.